in 2 minutes.
Yeah. Gives people time to jump on. We can chit chat.
Give people time to jump on.
Ketchup. And mustard.
Mandy, is it there? Can you see yourself?
It is not yet up here.
You might.
Oh, here it is.
Okay.
There's us.
I'm gonna click watch live.
Hello, Facebook world. Good morning.
No, gotta love. I guess I was gonna say Monday mornings, but it's not a Monday morning.
It's not even Monday morning.
Not yet Monday. I have to wait a whole week for that because it's already Tuesday.
Are you that excited about Mondays?
I think I'm that brought down by them.
Tuesday's my worst day because it's the longest possible time until Monday.
Monday, I miss you.
Well, how was your weekend?
My weekend was really good. You know, stayed busy. Worked on the camper.
For those of us just joining us, we're trying to give everybody a couple minutes. I promise we're not doing a Facebook Live for half an hour about us just talking about our weekend.
Weekends are totally awesome. How was your weekend?
Mine are usually not so
Lots of
awesome.
naps?
Usually, yeah.
Less naps than you take at work?
Well, that was just rude. Well, I'm trying to think. I watched some football. That was fun. Enjoyed that. We did have a boring weekend.
Oh, speaking of the sports balls, my team lost.
Which team is that?
The Cowboys.
Oh, they lost bad.
They lost. It was only like 23-17. It wasn't bad. It wasn't like it was 54-2.
I thought it was funny that they were blaming them about it, and then they were blaming the refs for not moving into that play, but they were ignoring, the other 59 minutes and 54 seconds of play.
The whole rest of the game.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
no, it was their fault.
Well, we are probably about a minute from starting our live. Just giving everybody
Beautiful.
another 60 seconds that the Cowboys could have used for their win. For everybody to go ahead and get on our Facebook Live today. I mean, you just me.
I just America's team. 15 penalties. I think they tied for the most postseason penalties in their history.
It's a sad day. Sad day for me. All right. So let's go ahead and get started.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the second in our series of Facebook Lives to help you in your job search and your career path. We are Career Source Flagler Volusia, and we are excited to come to you live and discuss things that will be helpful to you. We do have workshops available anytime at workshops.careersourcefv.com, which are super in-depth and a little heavier than these lighter Facebook Lives. And if you need that personalized one-on-one service, you can reach us at 386-323-7001. And we'll get you a one-on-one and set you up for appointments, get everything you need specific to your account. My name is Mandy. I am the Assessment Lab Coordinator for Career Source Flagler Volusia's Orange City Center. With me today,
I am Ricky. I'm the Assessment Lab Coordinator in the Daytona Beach Career Center and up in Palm Coast.
in the assessment labs, we love to get one-on-one with you and talk to you about things that can really help make you successful in your career path. And today we are going to talk to you on this Facebook Live about transferable skills.
Yes, we are. If you're playing the context clues game, there's skills you can transfer.
What?
But we're going to go a lot more into that.
Awesome. Well, let's start with the obvious question. What are transferable skills?
It's like a bad side note.
Skip.
What are transferable skills anyway?
Are they skills you can transfer, Ricky?
Yeah, believe it or not. So, transferable skills, especially for people that are looking to change careers, that's usually where we start. What they are, and again, context clues being everything, they're skills that maybe you learned, maybe you did in a past job, but are relevant and are going to be used in a job or career path you're looking for.
So they're the things that, even though you did this job and you want to do something completely different, they're the pieces of the puzzle that will be universal and fit into the overall realm of the new job or new industry.
The example I really like is the ability to move heavy things, and there's some jobs that you can do that where there may not be a lot of growth, but there's ways that you can say that and that you can use that to find a job. Material handler, for example. There's a lot of growth in being a material handler. And you're doing a lot of times the same amount of effort. You're doing a lot of the same things as maybe a warehouse associate. But you're able to move up a lot farther as a material handler.
All right. So what about if it's not a physical job? How would you identify those transferable skills in something that's less tangible, literally?
So you mean like customer service sort of thing? That's the big one. That I would probably say is the most common, popular transferable skill is customer service, because most jobs have a customer service component.
I think every job has a customer service component. Even if you're not a frontline employee facing a customer, every interaction you have with a coworker or with someone from another industry as you're going about your job, I would argue, is customer service. I think it's the number one skill that you can develop and transfer anywhere. Mm-hmm. That idea of serving somebody and taking care of somebody is going to be pertinent no matter where you go.
Yeah, even if you have internal customers. In IT, that's a big thing that we say is you're an internal customer or you're a user. So, yeah, you're not necessarily public facing, but your public is the people you work with.
Yeah. So identifying these skills in what you do now, where do you think is a good place to start with that?
So I always tell people whenever they come in and they say, I'm looking to change careers, and we're looking at that, is get me your old job description. That is always the best start, because somebody has taken the time to write down objectively, these are the things you have to do to be successful in this position. So assuming you are successful in that position, that's going to be where I start, because somebody's kind of already done the work for me.
There's already a list made out, so you have kind of a guideline to work with. But there's also, while that's a great starting point, there's also the idea, there's a lot of stuff you do day in and day out that you've taken on since you started that job, since that job description was written, that you also need to evaluate. There's day-to-day things that you're going to do that maybe were the other duties as assigned.
That's the hard part for most people. And it's not something, it's really easy to think, you know what you do. Your boss might know what you do, but it's really hard to communicate everything you do to somebody that has no idea, has never met you, where maybe they're just looking at a resume or what you've told them.
Right. And guys, while we're doing this, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the comments section. We would love to answer any questions you have along the way. And as we do this, we will keep checking that to make sure that we are on pace with you. So the idea of the things we do every day that maybe aren't in our job description. I know we get really into the resume writing a little bit later in this series, but is it worthwhile to jot down a list of just our daily activities?
Yeah, if you're looking at career change, or even if you're looking to develop a resume and things like that, which we're going to talk about a lot more in our next Facebook Live. But just now, right now, where you're just trying to figure out what your skills are, where you're trying to identify them, sitting down for half an hour or an hour and just thinking, okay, what does my day look like? What does my week look like, or my month, or my year? What reporting am I doing? How many people am I talking to? Those sort of things, those are transferable skills. It's, can you deal with customers? Can you do this? Can you do sales? Whatever it may be.
And even if you think this will take up too much time, this is a great way to work on time management, which is also an incredibly valuable transferable skill. When you're looking at everything you do and how well you manage your time through all of those different tasks, all of those interruptions, all of the additional stuff you take on, that idea of time management and how you're working through that is a very transferable skill.
Yeah, it's a skill in its own right. I think if you need to be willing to take time to figure out what you can and can't do. Part of career changing is taking stock of what you have and what you need. So you'll be having this conversation with yourself a lot of, I need to stop for a minute, take time, and figure me out. That's what we like to do, and that's part of our job in the assessment lab, is we give assessments to people who they don't know what direction they want to go in. And I tell people, it's good that you're taking some time for yourself. A lot of job seekers like to judge themselves on how many resumes they can shotgun out. How many? I did 40 applications today. Well, that's great, but did you take the time to make sure that it was something you want, something that you'd be excited to do, and there's something that there's growth. And I think a lot of times people kind of get into the flailing in the water because they're just like, I just need to get as many applications out as I can. But if it's not something you're going to accept or something that you're going to want, you're wasting your time. And that's the most valuable asset you have as a job seeker. So taking an hour to take stock of yourself is not a waste of time. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, now, and it's the difference between a well-crafted recipe and just throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks.
My mom does that.
She throws the spaghetti against
She
the wall.
does. That's how she knows it's ready. And then my sister will eat it.
So, as we identify what we are in possession of, how do we better translate that to a job that we want based off that job description? How do we do a good job of translating the skills we possess to the job we want?
Well, take a drink of water, baby. Here you go.
I'm thirsty.
So, what our goal is, and it's almost like a maze that you draw, you get on like a kid's menu or something. You're seeing what they want. Just like your job description is telling you, this is what you do and this is what you have to do to be successful in this position. The job description for the career or job you're applying for is the exact same thing. They're telling you what they want. Now, some of them can be very bare bones, and that leaves it up to a lot of interpretation, which can be good for you. A lot of times, they are telling you exactly what they want. My favorite example of this is the federal government. They are very good at saying, these are all the things we want you to be able to do. In addition, a lot of times the federal government job postings will have what we call a KSA section, knowledge, skills, and abilities. You'll hear them called KSAs kind of in the government HR field. And that is a great place to start. I tell people, even if you're looking for any job, that is a good place to look, in addition to some of the other ones we're going to talk about a little bit later. Because they're saying, this is what we want you to have knowledge of. These are the skills we want you to bring to the table. And we want you to be able to demonstrate the ability to do this.
So I think that touches on something that I think is super important, is looking at the skills themselves and not getting hung up on job titles or how a skill is labeled. If they say customer service or customer relations or customer support, it's worthwhile to look at those titles of the skill and understand that they are all the same thing. And that's where we're talking about that transfer aspect, that even if it's got a slightly different title to the job description, to what they've named the skill, to the department that you're going to work in, these are things that are going to transfer regardless of what the official label is of that company.
Yeah, I would say a job title is probably the worst place to start, because customer service representative means 50 things across 50 companies. It could mean maybe you answer phones. I've seen places where customer service representative means that you answer phones, but customer service associate means that you are actually out on the sales floor dealing with people. And they sound the same, and a lot of times we would make them interchangeable, but some places that's almost a promotion.
Right. And then again, that's identifying that transferable skill, which is customer service, regardless of what your job title is, what they call the skill. How do you get to be comfortable with knowing which is which? What's a good way to practice what a skill is and identifying it?
So, especially on a resume, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but your skills don't necessarily have to be something that you got from a job. There are lots of skills that somebody has, even if it's for fun,
or volunteering.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's lots of skills that you can pick up that, you've never been paid to do it. You do it for fun. You've done it as a volunteer. I know you especially wanted to talk about that. But anything that you can do, especially if you're seeing that the job that you're going for, the career you're going for, is calling for that.
I think this is super important for first-time job seekers as well. The clubs you've participated in school, the organizations that you have been a leader in, those are all valuable skills that you have learned. Volunteer work, especially in Florida, the volunteer work you're doing for Bright Futures. These are all skills that you have developed. You may not get a paycheck for them, but you are developing skills that are going to be transferred into whatever career or job that you take on next.
Yeah, volunteering is one of the best ways to get skills. And I don't care if you're a first-time job seeker or a 30-year professional, because volunteering is a way that a company who may not have the ability or means or desire to take on a paid position will kind of let you in the door for you to get your skills.
Yep. As we're going through this, don't forget to pop questions into our comments section. We definitely want to see what you have to say. We're looking for your feedback. As we are new to this, and as you're joining us, we want to make sure we're giving you great information that you want to hear. So don't forget to pop that in.
Yeah, please.
Volunteering, though, is also a great way to network. You build connections that have so much value down the road. You might have been 18 volunteering at an investment firm, and then you go through schooling and you end up down the road connecting back to this entity that is going to make both of you far more successful based off that earlier interaction. And the networking value in volunteering, networking is a transferable skill.
Oh, yeah. The biggest hesitation that normally I hear people say, and I say volunteering, but I like to say more, think of it as internship or apprenticeship, or, doesn't necessarily have to be with a nonprofit, doesn't necessarily have to be with a church. It doesn't have to be whatever you think of as volunteering, because a lot of times they're not. You can do it with a for-profit company that's helping people, or that's just looking for help for themselves. You are getting something out of it, though. Volunteering kind of, I think for a lot of people, implies you're giving something and not giving anything in return. But if that's the field you want to break into, then absolutely, call it an internship. I get this a lot of times, and I talked a little earlier about the people who come in and say, I've applied for 40 jobs every day for the past 6 months. And what I tell people is if that's what you're doing and what you're finding isn't working, you need to try something else. So that's a really good something else for people, because now you're having relevant, recent work experience in addition to the main thing, developing a skill that you want to do paid as a career.
That's a great point. If you have that time when you are not working and you're not yet in a new position and you are applying, that's a great time to, especially in an industry that maybe you're not familiar with.
Exactly.
You can jump in and find some way to develop those skills fairly quickly in a volunteer or internship position. Mm-hmm. And it makes the time fly by faster while you are doing the job hunt as well.
Yeah, so add that to your list of transferable skills. Whatever you are doing there, if it's answering the phones, take the time, write it down, because you're going to use that later.
And it's volunteer efforts are a great way to learn leadership skills as well, especially in an adult setting. You know, we may have been a participant in a sport or a group activity in high school, but we may not have taken on a leadership role since then. And it's a great way to get back into not only a group setting where everybody really wants to be there, but to also develop those leadership skills. And that's going to help you, even if you're just trying to get promoted within your own organization. The initiative of going out and doing something helpful, the aspect that you have taken on additional responsibility, those are all things that are going to transfer well into a promotion scenario in your own organization. Even if you're not leaping to another industry or leaping to another career, there's ways to develop yourself where you are.
Well, I know something we really wanted to talk about too was the assessments and the tools that we have to identify your transferable skills. So even if you're finding that you're struggling, or even if you're not struggling to identify your skills, we have stuff here at Career Source that can help you with that.
In the assessment lab, we actually have an assessment called TORC. And what this will do is take all of your volunteer work, all of your internships, education, and your jobs, and it will put them all into its magic machine and find out what your transferable occupation relation quotient is. That's what TORC stands for.
TORQ.
TORQ, not with a K. And it will take all of that information and it will put it into this magic machine and their wonderful algorithms that will take and line up what things you're going to have a high transferability to. And it'll be easy to jump into, and you maybe don't really need additional training, you don't need any additional education, and it's going to help you find what gaps there might be as well. So maybe you're 95% ready to leap into this. It'll identify that 5% that maybe you need to work on. But it can also help highlight things that you've already done that maybe weren't covered or you didn't think about. You know, it may say you need to be able to do balloon blowing up. And you're like, man, I've done 1 million parties and I've blown up balloons. That's already a skill I have. Wasn't a great example. But I didn't want to get anything too technical that people were like, I can't do that. So you may identify these gaps that it's showing you in this leap to another position, but they may not be gaps at all. TORC also helps identify if you're trying to climb to higher positions in the field that you're in, or if you want to move into a different field and climb through that, any educational gaps, whether it's just a certification, on-the-job training, or if you need to go back to school, it will help identify those gaps as well. And it's, you know, all of our services are free of charge when you come and visit us, so it's worth a look.
Yeah, one of the really cool things that I like about it too, it will, once you enter all your information, it actually gives you some Indeed job postings that it feels that you would be very well ready to apply for, or some that you can apply for after you develop the skills that you're looking to fill that gap that it figures out for you. I think that's probably my favorite thing about it.
So it doesn't just pull from Indeed, it actually pulls information from ONET, which is one of your favorite
Yes, I love ONET. So ONET, I've known ONET longer than my fiance. She's been there for me in the darkest of times and the highest of highs. ONET is the electronic version of what we used to call the DOT, the Dictionary of Occupational Terms. So every couple of years, the Department of Labor would release a book about that thick, full of occupations. And it would tell you information about it. What does the job do? Those knowledge, skills, and abilities. Is it growing? What's the median pay for every conceivable area in the United States? And then somebody said, let's put it online. So what you have at your fingertips is a resource that you can type pretty much any occupation into, any career field, and it will tell you what that job does and what that career does in a nice list, almost resume-ready format. So if you're having issues identifying each of your skills as a waitress, you go on to onetonline.org, type waitress into the top, and it gives you a 15 bulleted list about every skill that the Department of Labor has identified for waitresses. I use this all the time when I make resumes. I use this all the time for people to identify transferable skills. It is one of the absolutely most useful tools that I have in workforce development because I don't know what every job does. You know what your job does, but again, if you're having an issue identifying that, this is an objective tool that will say, this is what we've identified for you to be successful in that position.
It's also helpful in if you're not sure what language to use to describe a transferable skill. It's very clear cut there. One thing I like about ONET too is that it allows you to put in Mos codes for the military.
Yeah, and the military is one of the groups that I've noticed in my experience doing this struggles with identifying their transferable skills. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I could not tell you how many times I'll have a veteran that maybe recently got out or even that didn't come into my office and say, I know the military, and I feel like when I'm telling that to civilians, they don't understand what it is that I truly did. And that's really frustrating for a lot of veterans. And I can't blame them because how do you communicate that to somebody that has no idea what is going on in this entirely other world?
Right. And for our veterans here, we love working with them. We do offer a priority of service, which means we want to make sure we get you in the door. It's our way of saying thank you for your service. Get you in the door first, get you the next available appointment. We want to make sure that we are taking care of you in the best way possible.
Yeah, because and veterans require different types of things. You have a different level of experience. And what we're able to do here is, I say, translate it into a civilian resume, like we say, because I said it can be very frustrating, but most people in the military can say they were leaders. They have the ability to follow directions. They have the ability to communicate in a very technical way. Those are 3 transferable skills right there. But they feel kind of boxed in because they feel like the only thing they did in the military was maybe carry a rifle for 4 years. And I have to say, no, there's so much you did. Because it's true.
Yeah.
Even if that's how you feel, we can do it. Trust me. If you want to change careers and if you want to get something away from the military, if that's something you want, we can do that. I actually, a friend of mine who was on a ship in the Navy, I helped a lot of his guys with their resumes, and some of them wanted to stay in the Navy. Some of them wanted to do something very highly technical with what they did. Some of them were wanting to get out of the Navy, and they were having issues identifying those transferable skills. So I had to sit and we talked and emailed and broke it down for them.
All right. Again, as we're coming to a close on this, we want to make sure if you have any questions, now's your last chance to get them in and let us know if you need any follow-up or you want to know more about something. We would love to answer any questions you have real time. If you are catching this after the live version of it, hit us with the hashtag replay. We are definitely wanting to know that you showed up. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments, and we will look forward to next week too when we get to see you again.
Yeah, so next week we're going to be talking about applying those transferable skills. So this is now, you've taken the time, you've taken stock of what you can do, but what do I do with this long list of skills that I have? And we're going to talk a lot about how to put them in your cover letter and your resume and take advantage of actually using these to get a new job or a new career.
Yeah. All right, so to wrap up with you guys, if there's any questions, pop them in the comments. But the too long didn't read version is you have a wealth of transferable skills. You have so much more to offer than you realize because you do it every day on autopilot and it's ingrained in who you are in your 9 to 5 or your shift or however you encompass your work life. You need to take a look at your job description, write down all of the things you do that are the other duties as assigned. You need to take a look at a job description that you are really trying to get and see how you can marry those and find out what you have that's already valuable, that's ready to be plugged in and played in the next position. We want you to consider your volunteering work as part of that, your internships, apprenticeships, anything, if you're a new job seeker, anything you did in school that really helped you become who you are as somebody who's ready for this position. And that is easily labeled as knowledge, skills, and abilities, as Ricky so concisely pointed out. If you want to have a little assistance in doing that, you can reach out to us and
Please
go through some of our assessments. And again, thank you for veterans, everything that you do for this country, and we want to help you with that as well, moving from military to civilian. Ed, it was a pleasure working with you last week. I'm glad we got everything wrapped up for you.
Okay.
We've got somebody moving on to the next stage of success in their career.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much for joining us on our Facebook Live. This is only the second in a series of sessions that we are planning to do, and we hope to see you next week.
We'll be here
If
next
you're catching us on the replay, hit us with #replay. Otherwise, see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.